take a complex topic but somehow treat it with really clarity and simplicity also, so that you wouldn't be wasting emotional energy on thinking while you're seeing it. I think that's a real. I always had this goal in my head of trying to make a film that you could somehow take in completely on the right side of your brain, where you would really not be distracted by having to think about things while you were seeing the film. I think that ideally you would start thinking about a film generally after you've seen it. You would just respond emotionally in the 2 hours that you spend in the theater seat, and it's actually quite hard to because if you have someone thinking in that moment, they're not really responding emotionally, because in that moment you're being rational. You're really on the left side of your brain. So there's a lot of work in the film trying to keep things completely on the right side of the brain. For example, one example would be in the production design. I met a lot of production designers, many production designers, and I met many costume designers also, because I knew exactly on a few of the other positions I already knew for a long time whom I wanted. I knew what editor I wanted. I knew what composer I wanted. All these people but on these two functions, I was looking for a certain quality, and that was being able to work to keep things on the right side of the brain. So very often you have production designers who will say, I don't know, okay, here we have a room, and let's say this is a working class couple. When they, let's say, this would be a scene in a trailer or something, yeah. So these people are in this trailer, and they'd probably be fighting a lot. So maybe they'd be throwing, maybe at some point people had thrown a coffee cup at the other one. So there would be let's put a coffee splotch on the wall or something like that, and that will all these things together will give you a feel for a realism. Now, see, that is a production designer, for example, that I could never work with, because that would be if you saw a picture of a trailer and you saw a coffee splotch on the wall for a second while watching that scene, you would be analyzing that, taking in that information, and not feeling at that moment. Or let's say I would, for example, I would not put a map, let's say, on a wall, for example, yeah, because for a second you would be thinking, oh yes, okay, this is a map of, I don't know, let's say Bulgaria, where this guy likes to go on holiday or something like that. Now, if you have that, immediately you have someone distracted for a second. Or I would try not to put too many little, let's say a table like this, for example, you could never have, I would never have that in one of my scenes, because you would be starting to analyze, what's this again, what's that, what's this? You'd be distracted for a second. Or you would also be distracted into thinking by too many color changes, for example. I really tried to work with something which I saw a lot, and which the French use a lot. And actually a lot of films in America in the 80s use, I see it less and less now, with a real clear color palette. Now, people think that that's just an aesthetic thing, but I think the real reason behind it is that it will transport you to the film, and after a while you start relaxing in the film, thinking, oh, okay, I've understood, this is a subconscious thing, I've understood the color world and the shape world even of this film. I don't have to, in a way, spend the first few moments of a new scene or of a new image, of a new analyzing things. You know, I can sit back and feel, and so, for example, I would not put in a, let's say, a tie would be, you know, I would take a tie like mine in the film. I would not choose one like yours, because I'd be thinking, what are those lilies, or are those you know, that would be taking me out of the picture for just for a second. We could just pause it.